Hey, welcome to This Is Everything, episode number 2 with Brent Cayson. Just, I guess, a quick intro. Brent, so you know, is a good buddy of mine. Such a good guy. I love this guy so much. I'm so glad he was on here. He was in town in Tampa from where he currently lives in Chicago, so I nabbed him up, and we had a good chat. He's just one of the best guys I know, one of my best friends. He was actually the best man at my wedding. So, this is the first time I've seen him since that. So we sat down, talked, had a really good time. I actually met Brent a couple years back because he used to tour and do merch for a band called Anberlin. They're actually no longer a band now, which is sad. We talk about that, went to their last show together. But yeah, so they were one of my favorite bands for a long time in high school, and then I kind of met Brent because of that with mutual friends of the band when I was probably around in college. I was in college. So yeah, since then we've been just great buddies. And yeah, so we just sat down. He goes into a couple of tour stories that he had from when he was touring with them, whether that band or some other bands, going to some tour pranks. Just a good chat. We talk a little bit about his dad being a pastor, him growing up, but a lot about music. And because he and I just have music talks all the time, so it was almost pretty much that plus a microphone, which was a good time. But yeah, so Brent and I, in our circle of friends, kind of have the rep as being the pair of grumpy old men that aren't really old men. So so Brent, in classic style, goes into some tangents as far as pedestrians. If that's something you're interested in listening to, you can have that on this podcast. But really, he's one of the nicest guys I know, such a sweetheart, and I'm just so happy that you guys can hopefully get to know him if you don't know him a little bit. But real quick, I just want to say to everybody who has been listening, listen to the first episode that came out last week. Just thank you so much. I didn't know what was going to happen with it. I just kind of took a shot in the dark, hopefully thinking people were interested, and it turns out that some of you guys were. So just thank you so much for taking the time. I hope you're liking these and getting more comfortable doing this. I felt a little bit shaky on the first one, just kind of not used to having a mic in front of me and pushing the conversation along, but feeling like we're getting into the groove. Thank you so much. Follow along. If you haven't already, please subscribe on iTunes or via your iPhone podcast app. Please rate the podcast if you like it. Tell me. You can leave a review. It'll really help us out a lot. Just figuring out how you guys are liking it, and then figuring out how to go about doing this in the future, and all that kind of good stuff. You can follow all of our stuff from State Lines at state-lines.com. We have a Facebook, which is facebook.com/statelines. Twitter is at @tweetstatelines. We have an Instagram, which is @statelines, and we have a Tumblr, which is officialstatelines.tumblr.com. And of course, please, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Daniel_Cura, Cura. And if you want to follow Brent, he's at Brent Cayson, BrentCayson. That's your spelling trivia for the day. Okay, that's enough. So here you go, episode number 2 of This Is Everything with my guest and great friend, Brent Cayson. Get on that #grumpy grind. Oh man, that was bad. Whatever. I miss Brent. Come back, Brent. Okay, here it is. For real. Bye.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We have a special treat for you today. We have the one, the only.
Welcome to the State Lines Network.
Thanks for coming. Good chill. That's freaking awesome. Notice the candle?
Oh, sweet.
I just lit it. This is the first time. How you doing, man?
It may not smell a turkey in the a big room.
It's cool.
I don't know. I was gonna bring my charger, but I'm good.
It's all good. So how you doing, man?
Good. Hanging and living. I'm no, I don't need a parking permit, right? Out front.
No, you're good.
Yeah, okay.
You're good. Oh man. So yeah, what's new? What'd you do this weekend with your family?
Oh man, it's always like a rush when I come home. It's awesome, but you try to do so much and see people, and I think I just put the expectations on myself to try to hang with friends, so it's good. And then plans always change. You try to roll with the punches, and
yeah,
So, yeah, Grandma was going to come to lunch today, and so I was going to meet up with friends for coffee this morning, and then her car had issues, so she couldn't drive, so I ended up bumping those plans to drive and see her this morning. So
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah. So
That's cool, dude. Yeah, I mean, I know it's not like we're just now hanging out. We hung out on Friday, but I figured wanting to get you on this.
Yeah.
So, for those who don't know, this is Brent Cayson. He's an old friend of mine.
Literally, I'm 70. I kick and I cuss.
So, how long have we known each other now? Like,
It's got to be since was it 08 or 9?
that sounds about right.
So about 6 years, 7 years.
that sounds about right.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because I met you through Jason after that trip.
Yeah, and you were like a junior in high school or something.
Junior college, maybe.
Yeah,
That's actually probably
closer
accurate.
to it. Yeah.
Accurate. That's cool, dude.
There's like a nice 8 or 10 year gap, but
It's all good.
somehow it doesn't seem so.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess that's something we could talk about. How we met.
That's a crazy story.
Because it's ridiculous.
It's a really good one.
Do you want to go into that?
Yeah, I'll start it. Why not? So I traveled with bands for about 4 years. Managed merchandise on tour mainly for a band around here called Anberlin. So good friends, good band. R.I.P.
Too soon.
We don't have anything to pour out for them, do we?
I mean, you could pour this glass of water.
Only
on
water.
My carpet.
So I toured with that band, and I've got one of my other best friends here is Jason Sowell, and we Stephen from Anberlin had a nonprofit and was doing some charity work out in California. So you and Jason were out there for that and met. You were strangers, met, and then realized you probably should be hanging out in Tampa. And I was kind of like somewhat of a missing link. You were an Anberlin fan as well, and so we all linked up, and so we've all been buds since. And then that's also how you ended up meeting your recent wife. Congratulations.
Yeah.
That was one of Jason's friends, so it's kind of a crazy
ridiculous.
Crossroads, one of the many ones of life.
Yeah. And then turn into having you and Jason in my wedding party.
Yeah,
Ridiculous.
exactly.
But that's still nuts. It blows my mind.
It's really weird.
Yeah, I think the thing that blows my mind the most is like before we probably met, I was probably just like a snot-nosed kid buying shirts off you that you hated.
Hopefully I wasn't giving you like evil eyes. Like, dude, make up your freaking mind. Get out of here.
Yeah.
There was that, and then I remember I think the first time that I saw you before we actually met was one of the was it one of like the Next Big Things or one of the 97X Tampa radio shows, because you had won a guitar or lessons or some kind of hangout with Joey or Christian, and so I remember Jason told me that you had won that, and then I saw them. I was like, that's probably that dude.
Gotcha. I don't remember you from that. I remember.
Yeah, no, I just remember probably creeping on you. I was like, that's the guy.
I remember. I remember 2 times like looking back that I remember you from shows, and I think one was Warped Tour.
Yeah.
It must have been.
It was 7 or 8 because we did 7 or 8. Yeah.
It was on the cycle for New Surrender.
Yeah. And I probably had a Bulls jersey on, a really long beard. That was the worst idea. The first time I decided to grow a really long beard was the dead of summer when I'm going to be outside for 4 or 5 weeks in 90-degree weather with like 85% humidity. It's the worst time to grow a beard.
Yeah. But also, I mean, the best time because you don't have to. You're on tour.
Yeah. Then you're not worried about shaving. Yeah, no, that's the best sense.
That, and then I think I remember you had a House of Blues show, but I don't know why that stuck out. But it's so nuts to me.
House of Blues, I'm not a fan of you. Just want to put that on record.
Well, I mean, sorry, sponsor.
There goes that sponsor. Oh man,
we almost had it.
That's
Cayson had it screwed
Live
up.
Live Nation was almost on board. I can't believe that. This is the first sponsor. You just got
in a
Live
living room?
Nation. Yeah, dude.
You know.
Your third podcast. Hey guys, thanks Live Nation.
Oh, man. So I guess kind of going off touring, I've heard a couple of your your stories. Do you have any favorites that you want to
stories about me
or just stories in general that you don't mind sharing on the internet?
I didn't know what kind of embarrassing news you had. But you also know me well enough that I probably wouldn't be embarrassed. So
I mean, you can do whatever you want.
Tour for 4 years. Let's see. I think probably best prank story is it was middle of nowhere. It had to have been. It wasn't Wyoming, but it was somewhere out west, middle of nowhere. Had played a show in. It wasn't a VFW hall. It was definitely a basement somewhere. It was absurd. Steven, I remember, actually ended up trying to. He was so over the show. He tried to, I think, rap the bridge of. What did he actually do? I remember he was over it. He definitely screamed while he sang a lot more because he never did that. I think it was Feel Good Drag. He decided to try to rap part of it. He was just
That's amazing.
He was like, I'm done with it. Let's just have some fun. And so some of us had gone out across the street afterwards, and we were out really late. Some of the guys, half of them stayed behind. So I think we came on the bus at I bet you it probably was 3 a.m. or something. And right now would be a good time to play Matchbox 20. You're going to queue up 3 a.m. right now? Or is that Rob Thomas solo? You should know which one it is.
I already had it on my iPod queued.
So came back to the bus, got in bed, and I just heard crinkling wrappers in my sheets, and couldn't figure out what the heck was up. Figured, I left a wrapper, who knows what, candy wrapper. Tried to go to sleep, then I heard them in my pillowcase. I was like, this is just absurd. So decided to turn the little nightlight on. Started looking through my sheets, and I was finding oatmeal cream pies wrapped up in my bed. Now the backstory is that we on the rider had Little Debbie's, but it was always zebra cakes, and I just got tired of it. What? There's 20 different Debbie cakes. Let's just switch it up. Let's let the runner pick maybe. Why are we getting the same thing every day? So I brought it up to the tour manager, hey, let's get something else. Anything. Star Crunches? I like Star Crunches. I like Fudge Rounds. Don't test me on my fat kid news. I'll just sweets, and I love them. I definitely cut that way down. So I guess that day we got the oatmeal cream pies. I remember nobody liked them. It was the really big box. Nate wrote a note Brent, these are freaking horrible. You better eat all these damn Little Debbies. So left that for me. So somebody had started burying them in my bed, under my sheets, in my pillowcases, and I thought for sure it probably was Nate who slept across from me. And Dion knew who did it, and he pointed underneath my bed. And Steven, the singer, sleeps under me. So I was like, I'll get that mug. Good. And ended up the next day, I found more. I found them buried in my backpack. I found them buried in my little tiny camera bag with my digital camera. Just anywhere he had stuff at Little Debbie, it was there. I found them for a day or two. So the next day was the last day of tour. They had some radio to do. They were all at a station. There was a dollar store nearby, and I bought 3 bags of balloons. And the drum tech and myself blew up. It had to have been 60 balloons probably. Medium balloons, and I stuffed his bunk bed because there's curtains that shut, so you're almost in a miniature coffin. It's all encased. So we just stuffed balloons till you couldn't stuff anymore. Shut the curtains, and unfortunately I was not there to witness it, but I think he was on the phone with his wife and decided he was going to take a nap, opened his curtains, and they just flooded out. And so that was my retaliation for that. I think I've cost them a lot of money at a border crossing on Warped.
I think I've heard of this one.
Yeah, that was a really bad one. We were hours late. I think we were half the day late. Border crossing, if you've never done Canada, is just it depends. There's no continuity, and it depends on what side of the bed they wake up on as to actually how much work they want you to do. And so you're supposed to have paperwork and everything, which we usually have the paperwork. They want to know where every shirt came from, where it's manufactured.
Yeah.
So everything was American Apparel. It's American, and I guess I left a few shirts that I got free from other bands in some of the boxes. Well, they decided to go through some of the boxes to verify, found some of those shirts that were not on the manifest,
business, quote unquote.
And all of a sudden, exactly, and all of a sudden, it's oh, hey, where'd you get these? These aren't on the list. These are made in, Mexico, wherever, anywhere else, Guatemala. And so they ended up detaining me and the tour manager, questioning us, I think they went through almost the whole trailer, through all the boxes. And yeah, if you don't know about touring, the driver, he usually drives for about 8 hours. I think is like the legal maximum, maybe a little bit more. And they've got to stop and rest. So anything over a certain amount of time is overdrive. It's almost like you get paid time and a half, like working overtime. So the band has to pay more. Well, he had already kind of been driving his maximum. So in order to get us there, it was an overdrive. And so yeah, we had to pay more money on account of my screw up. So you're welcome, Billy, if you're listening. I know you love that extra money that was on my fault.
I went to Canada once, and I they were strict with me. Like, I helped my sister. She used to travel for work.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
because we hung out in Chicago one time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And same thing. Like, we were going to Vancouver, and we were hopping. It was at the Vancouver airport, so I don't know. I mean, I know like the basics of my sister's business, or her old business, and they just pretty much needed me to go out there and help, like, set up like the event or whatever they were doing.
Yeah.
So they caught me, like, and asked me like their degree of like what the company was and what I was doing, and I had no answers. So
and then you look really sketchy and really
So like, just being in the situation, you feel like you're gonna get busted for something that you're not.
Exactly,
not
dude.
even doing.
I feel so nervous around them, and I have no reason to. Like, I've never had drugs, anything illegal. They definitely don't want you bringing in fruit with, like, potential other bugs. So I remember the last time we crossed, we got yelled at because we still had, like, oranges, bananas. It's just really funny when the biggest thing that they can complain about and yell at you for is, like, you're not supposed to have fruit. Trash the fruit. Those are probably some of my, favorite ones we did. You and I witnessed the last show ever.
Yeah.
That was
a good time.
Good and sad. But yeah, it's, I mean, Warped Tour's crazy. We did 2 of those, I guess 1.5 of those. Anybody that does that now, kudos, you can keep it. That 2 was enough for me. I got friends that go out like year after year, and they can't do it. But I think that's like just a really neat thing that somewhat fell in my lap. I mean, I never tried to do it. It really was supposed to be something in between jobs. I knew a few of the guys and kind of just needed work, and I was like, hey, I'll do this. I had done some other stuff with, like, helping set up shows and book shows and run them, so I was like, I might as well try the tour side.
Yeah.
So it was really just something to make a little bit of a paycheck until I got a job, and it just, like, they grew, and it just kind of kept going and going.
Yeah.
So just work my way up. But I mean, it's a rad community to be a part of as far as, like, all those like legit like merch dudes. It's kind of like a big family. So it's crazy because I haven't toured since 2010, and like the Dark is Away, Light is a Place tour, I think was the last one I did. And those dudes I still keep in touch, and a lot of them come through, and some of them have like moved up to a lot bigger bands. One of my buddies does merch for Black Keys, Arcade Fire, so he'll hit me up when he's like at the Daggum United Center, and I'll go hang out. And
Jesus.
So yeah, it's cool. Like, they still keep in touch. Super solid people. I knew a few girls who toured, and I mean, they're just as like legit and hard nosed and balls to the wall with a really good work ethic as the dudes. And they're not in it for anything else on the side. So that's rad to see. But I mean, I even had recently one of my buddies put me on Facebook group that's among a whole lot of national touring merch people, and just to kind of keep me in the loop on stuff. So I actually still do stuff around Chicago now. I moved to Chicago about 4 years ago. September will be 4 years ago. So yeah, I've started doing stuff there recently the last couple of years. So I do Riot Fest, and it's about 20, I think it was 25 of us last year, and we just did all the bands. So they had about 6 tents wide, and just everybody's merch was all in one place, and they just have like one team of people that sell it all. So I did that. I did some stuff for like a few other bands here and there. So I mean, it's cool to kind of keep your feet wet, stay in it, make a little bit of money, and still be able to hang out with your people.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's definitely a neat, like, tight knit community to have been a part of. Yeah. So, and still.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what was cool to me out of, like, getting to know you. Like, obviously I got to know you, and we've been friends for however long. But then meeting, like, the other guys, like, it's always pretty, like, no, it's not like you're just a dude who moved out of state and then, you know what I mean? Like, it's always a constant contact kind of thing. I mean, even with us, I probably talk to you more than some other people
Then a
when
lot
you're
of
farther
friends.
away.
Yeah, no, exactly. I feel like that's what's crazy about you and I. That like I feel like we got closer after. I
Yeah,
moved,
possibly.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, maybe it's just age. Yeah, I mean, going back to the 70-year-old, I mean, I'm definitely the grandpa of our friends. I actually, one of the Anberlin stories that they always quote, because they do usually rag me. They can actually do, some of them can imitate me well, like the really like ranting, raging Southern accent. The Southern comes out a little bit harder when I'm going off on some tangent. But we were doing that because Warped Tour when they have a few days off out in like San Diego, they do that bowling tournament. Teams do it, and I think they get fans to come out and play. So they'll kind of tag team like two fans and two band dudes.
Gotcha.
They'll bowl. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of money goes to charity. It's cool. And so tour manager rented a car, and I think about like 4 or 5 of us were going down. It was maybe 30-40 minutes away, and I already I'm not like a good backseat driver to begin with. Like I just want to drive. I'm not a good passenger at all, and felt like I was in Mario Kart because I'm pretty sure we had like one of the smallest cars with like 5 big grown ass dudes. So I was already kind of pissed about that. And I remember some guy was walking across the street in his flip flops, and he was just taking his own time. And this may be something we move on to next, but I feel like one of my biggest pet peeves is really selfish pedestrians in their own world. I like to think of myself as like the most polite pedestrian in this great country, maybe the planet. And
a cyclist.
and I remember I just kind of yelled. I think my window was cracked. I was like, I know you're wearing flip flops. You could at least jog. And to this day, that's something that exact line. That's something they can just nail all the time. So that sticks out. That's a story that they like. And yeah, I mean, especially living in Chicago now, because I mean, down here in Florida, you get a lot of like really busy intersections. You're not really having a whole lot of pedestrians and crosswalks and stop signs and lights.
There's a few clusters, but for the most part, yeah.
Yeah, and so, yeah, like it's I don't know, it's ridiculous. I think, yeah, try to be considerate. I think that's the one kind of funny thing that still baffles a lot of people about me, because I do usually get upset about things, but for some reason I'm usually more lighthearted about things that probably should piss me off, like the subway incident the other day.
Remind me, I don't know.
I was going. So normally, yeah, going down to the subway, I'm always, you get behind people, slow people. For me, I usually am in a rush. It's a big city. You're walking around. You're weaving in and out of people. For some reason, going down the stairs, going into the subway, I'm behind people, and they may be a little slow, but for some reason, I don't want to run around them, because I know with my luck, I'll run into the train, and then they'll get right in behind me and give me that look like, oh, way to run around me, bro. Look, I made it too.
Yeah.
And then we're side by side for, the next 5 stops.
Yeah.
Like, oh, great. So, there's been like 2 times recently where I should just run around them. For some reason, that's usually when you would want to rush. Hey, train, let me catch it. Let me run. That's when I decide to let my manners out, my Southern gentleman out. I'm like, no, I'll follow this guy down the stairs. He's going really freaking slow, but I'll just follow him down. And sure enough, they get to the bottom of the stairs, and like, there's the cars, there's the train waiting. It's about to go, and they still just don't hurry up. And next thing you know, the doors close, and it's all of freaking 25 feet away. And it's just like, I should have ran around him. So now I just promise myself, like, I don't care what it takes. Like, I'll be the rude guy. I'm gonna be that guy that people go home and vent to their like husband or kid about.
Like the guy
wife.
that hurries up to the stoplight kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the pedestrian thing, I feel like it's I don't know, it's bad for like all parties involved, because I saw a girl the other day that really
I love that we're just getting into
because it literally is the thing I hate the most. Like, I'm so passionate about it. I just think that, yeah, I mean, get your head out of your ass, get it off your phone. You don't need to be texting your friend about, the 15th season of The Bachelor, Bachelorette, and, how you were blown away about, like, some new crazy dramatic move that we probably just saw last year and the year before last. All the backstabbing. But, yeah, so they take forever, and it's like, yeah, you've got the right of way, but chances are this guy's wanting to turn right, and he's got a green light, but you've got the right of way to cross. But now that you're taking your time, he can't turn, and now there's a traffic jam behind him because you're going slow and he's trying to turn right, but you're in the way. Like, just, and anytime, I always hustle it. Like, you can just see me very swiftly moving through a crosswalk. I'm always trying to, like, cool, dude, bring it on. I know you want to go. There's times I've stopped people in a crosswalk to let a guy come through because I know once the floodgates open and everybody comes through, this guy's not going to have a chance to turn for like another light cycle. So, you just see it more in Chicago. So it's funny because in a way it doesn't really matter if you're, because I've tried to bike everywhere. So most people are like, oh, cyclists, yeah, they hate drivers. They hate they just want the bikes or just the bikes and the pedestrians. To me, it's kind of like no one's safe because chances are I can really hate you if you're a car driver and if you're a pedestrian and even if you're another cyclist. Or I can be your best friend and I can kind of get you right on through the intersection so you don't have to wait through 3 lights in downtown Chicago.
Oh, ridiculous. So we'll be right back with more pedestrian travel tips with Brent Cayson.
Get out of the street!
That just took the best turn. Oh, God, I love it.
That was one of the main things.
So good. I guess that kind of goes...
that girl, real quick. No, I'm just kidding.
You and I have kind of a rep in our circle of friends of being the grumpy guys.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because I don't feel like I feel like you can tell now, like, we're pretty fun guys to be around, and we're not, like, running around just, like, being pissed off at people.
Yeah, we're not necessarily Debbie Downers. But it comes out when you're around close friends because they get it.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it is. And it kind of comes out cranked to 10 sometimes. But it's because you know your friends can handle it.
And I can't speak for yourself, but I know for me, like, I always try to be a pretty easygoing dude. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of it comes from social media where it's easier to just rant about, like, I do it all the time, but like a lot of my more quote unquote popular posts are me just like ragging on something that was just really dumb. And I feel like it might be with you, so people get that perception of you, and then even though like you're one of the cuddliest dudes I know. Yeah. But
we're both on the same couch right now, just side by side. Get off, just right here on my shoulder.
No. So good.
We cuddle, just not with each other. It's I think that's the thing. You know, for me, I feel like it's more or less it's I do go on tants. That's a new word. Rants and tangents. There we go. That was it. That's Nailed what it. I was looking for. So, but I go on. Just kidding. We don't have that software.
Push play.
So, I feel like it's more. What do I look for? It's just everyday little things. But I also feel like it's some of it's just common sense things that just a lot of people don't. Just take the time to stop and think. If you think about it for 30 seconds, like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. And so I get some friends that are like, oh man, like I can't believe that little thing ticks you off. And then I'll have other friends or like my roommate, like, oh no, yeah, that totally makes sense. Like, yeah, I can. It's totally valid. I see your point. I guess it depends on the way you look at it. But we're not 24/7 on that. On that grumpy grind. That's a new hashtag. So,
oh man, get on that
grumpy grind, bro. But we do need to. Your Halloween idea though, we got to hang out on Halloween. So.
Oh yeah. I was actually just looking up. I can't remember their names, but yes, Statler and Waldorf, the grumpy Muppets that sit on the balcony and just. Bitch about everybody.
Exactly. Oh, look at that. Look, I can't believe she's weird. So we may just actually dress up like old men sometime soon if we can actually hang out on a Halloween.
Make a Halloween trip to Chicago.
Yeah, exactly. Which I feel like is just it's like the worst time to come. No, it's not the worst. That would be St. Patrick's Day parade. Anytime it's a big tourist joint.
That's awesome. Yeah, I need to get back up there. I've been up there in a while.
It'd be fun.
I think the last time I went was that time you were talking about, where we met up.
Yeah.
I love that city.
What's crazy is my last office that I just moved from was only like 2 blocks from where we ate that Mexican.
Oh, the Mexican place.
Yeah. So that was good stuff. It was cool when you were there, wasn't it? And then you guys
Yeah.
ran in your dress clothes to like the bean to take pictures, and then ran
All
back
around
or
town.
something.
Yeah, we were working
on a break.
So my sister's old job, she would set up for like conferences and events. So she needed me and my old roommate Caesar. We went out there to help him. So we woke up, went to the convention center at like 5 early in the morning, 5 or 6 to set up, and we were done by like 7. And we had just like the whole day. We pretty much had the whole day to do whatever, and they just had to be back at the convention at like, I don't know, like 5 o'clock. Whenever it was done, just pack up, or if they needed us. But yeah, that
So you
was
just took all the photo ops you could in one day.
but it was cool. It was awesome, a great day. But it also kind of sucked because my sister was the transportation, but she had to be at the event. So we just walked all across Chicago.
Oh yeah, because you're not trying to figure out
with
a,
dress shoes, and that was miserable.
It's the worst. It's the
But
worst.
it's good times. I like that place. So
we tend to like we have a lot of the same. I think part of why we got along is the same background of like music, a lot of the same bands, but then just kind of like the same I don't know, like ethos and attitude towards kind of like the underground music scene and what we came up with, and kind of the values and what. 'Cause I don't even know that we've ever really talked about this as far as like how it started. So what age and maybe what bands were you into that were kind of like the gateway drug
the gateway drug
to that
oh man
to get away from a lot of whatever radio.
We all have the embarrassing time, but I feel like once I got those crappy bands out of my system, the ones started coming in. I mean, because then again, I lived in kind of a rural area, so it wasn't like we had 97X, the radio station and stuff, but it was pretty much me trying to find stuff. So nothing super underground until like I actually actively like looked for that kind of stuff later, but early middle school, late middle school, early high school kind of stuff. AFI was a big one, and that's probably one of our bigger bonding things, because in all through high school, even through now, like that band is so huge. But like I feel like
we love you, Davey Havoc.
I feel like you and I are like we have a few like casual fans of that band, but like I know for sure in high school I never found anybody that was like a big fan of that band. For the most, like it was only like me, and every time I tried get people to shows, they're like, oh yeah, we'll see, and I was like, oh, you guys can go to hell, because
this is the best thing right now, dude.
Because I'm 15 and can't drive. This is your fault. But yeah, I feel like them, because I mean I got in with them on I think a lot of people did on the Sing the Sorrow, album, but then from there I backtracked, and I think that led me into the quote unquote underground scene, just getting their old Nitro records, and when they self-produced and all that kind of stuff.
Nice.
That was a big one that kind of pushed me away. But but we're because like you said, the age difference, so we're kind of a little bit different on
some of those bands,
some of the bands, just because of the different times. But
or just like that, when you got into that and you couldn't drive yet, and I was freaking 22 or something, watching them in Atlanta. If only I would have known that a young man with no license, one state away, really needed to go to a show.
Oh god. So but yeah, you and I talk. I think that's part of the reason we kept in touch so much, because we started at least like once a week, you and I'll have a just like a music chat for a couple hours via text.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, either like new albums, new
or just
videos,
talking about just the scene, or quote unquote industry in general.
Because I mean that's obviously a shit show too.
Well, yeah, I say like quote unquote industry, like not even because you say that word and you think of like the Grammys and pop music and whatever, but even just like the way labels do stuff, and the interesting way it's changing, or it has changed. But
has to like constantly evolve.
But yeah, it's pretty good talk. I was actually thinking the other day, I was actually telling Noelle the other day, my wife, for those of you who don't know, there's something, even when I was a kid, and by kid I mean like teenager, like I can't it's not something I actively tried, but even if you have like some of the best music, and then I find out that you're a dick, I just can't get into your music anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it just turns me off. Like, because music is such a weird thing. Because like, it's obviously an art form, and you're putting yourself out there, and you're like raw, and you're emotional. At least you're supposed to be, unless you're a select artist.
Yeah.
But so I feel like you should be more in tune with the fact that other people are like that too, and to not be a jackass or just too egotistical for, even if you're huge. I don't know. I can't. I'm not a huge musician, but I feel like if I was,
that's a weird thing because you're not there, and I feel like there's a lot of stuff that comes with that, and people around.
Yeah.
But it still doesn't mean that you should be that way. I think it even makes you more grateful, and also even just like more baffled when some bands do get to a certain size and are still just solid, legit, humble dudes. It's weird because my dad's a pastor, so I grew up, in a church, and they were fairly strict. And I remember like we could only listen to Christian music when I was younger. And let's see, I remember buying like my first little like tape player boombox, and. My dad said it would, like, if he heard anything other than Christian music, it would get, like, taken away for a period of time. So it was that, and so it definitely was, like, really cheesy at first. It was my parents' stuff. I totally had, like, Stephen Curtis Chapman cassettes that I would put in my Walkman when I read The Leaves. It got really ridiculous. And then I kind of branched out a little bit, and it was, it got a little edgier, as they like to say. And so I started... tasting a little bit of like DC Talk and Newsboys. I will go on record to say like I'd go to a DC Talk reunion show in a heartbeat. I don't care. Jesus Freak was pretty solid for what it was. But
I feel like Noel might join you on that.
I went. Oh yeah, dude. So we. So that was kind of my thing, and then I remember going and watching Newsboys. And a band, Plank Eye, opened up for them, and they were on Tooth and Nail, and so that's kind of what got me into that. And then as time goes on, and you start listening to other stuff, then you're like, oh yeah, they just really like the band, like Hum and Smashing Pumpkins and stuff like that. 'Cause you're like, I can totally hear that.
Yeah.
But that was kind of like my intro, and then from there it went into there was a band that I really loved. They only put out one album called Driver 8 that was really good. I love that. And then just like MXPX and punk stuff on down the list. So that's kind of what got me into that. And then when I moved to Atlanta, I got into a little bit more like hardcore stuff. We would put on some shows and concerts at a small, like a 250 cap room. So that was rad. I remember doing like a Under Oath would usually come through because Atlanta was only like 7 hours from Tampa, so usually they would always come through on tour. And there was a show that we did. The room held like 250 or 300 people, and it wasn't even packed out, and it was Under Oath headlining, and My Chemical Romance was direct support.
I think you might have told me about it. That's insane.
And that was I don't know, probably like 03 or something like that.
Was Safety out then? Chasing Safety.
No. It was just I think it's probably Changing of Times.
Okay.
It just been out.
With Dallas,
yeah. So he was still with them most of the time when they came through. But I did some crazy shows, Every Time I Die, and plenty of other. Did the ended up doing the Taking Back Sunday Brand New and Rufio show, and that was like right when they were starting to get on MTV and go crazy.
Yeah.
And we didn't have
got that
internet
Spider-Man
sales ticket. Yeah, you didn't get online ticket sales, and I remember there were kids emailing and calling from every bordering state,
really
asking about how to get tickets, and it was just like, well, just get there and get in line.
Yeah.
And they had just painted the building, the inside, like a week or two before. It was new paint, and it was so hot. We crammed so many people. We went way over capacity. There were kids outside in the parking lot watching through the window, and it was so hot that the walls were like sweating. Water was dripping from the ceiling, and then kids were leaning up against the wall, and just the new paint was coming off in sheets, just pulling right off.
That's crazy.
And so that's probably one of the like gnarliest small shows that I remember from back in the day. But even going back to what's crazy is like the MXPX thing is, from touring, I've met, plenty of bands I used to listen to on the radio, and super rad dudes in bigger bands. But I feel like the only guy I ever just like can't get my words out around is freaking Mike Herrera. And so it's funny, yeah. So I've become friends with dudes I used to sing along to on the radio and different things. But for some reason, I think it's just because I listened to them early on in high school. I lived out in the middle of nowhere with a lot of rednecks, so like there weren't many people. I had a few friends that listened to MXPX and some other punk stuff. And so I feel like it's just I've listened to them so long and that's kind of what got me rooted in that in my mind. As much as I don't really ever get quote unquote starstruck or try to put people on a pedestal, like for some reason that's just something that's like embedded. Like I remember being in high school watching VHS videotapes, being like, I want to dye my hair blue like that dude, which I did at church camp. And it was supposed to wash out, but church camp in high school, go away. I was a bag boy at a grocery store, and I had blonde hair, but I didn't know anything about dyeing hair or knowing that really dye latches onto blonde. You can't really get it out. So it was supposed to be one of those, hey, you just put it in and wash it out, and it didn't wash out. And so my royal blue hair went to like baby blue, and I just kept trying to get it lighter, and I just ended up buzzing off my hair like awesome. Literally every 2 or 3 days, just like, how quick can I get this blue off?
That's awesome.
So I think that was something that obviously the pastor parents weren't really expecting coming back.
Yeah.
I was one that like played by the rules. You always hear the like rebellious and crazy preacher's kids, but it wasn't really the case. So.
Unless you're putting that tape in your Walkman.
yeah. Unless you gotta keep the Smashing Pumpkins out. You can do some Michael W. Smith, some Stephen Curtis Chapman.
Yeah. I think going back to the different different age, but kind of starting up, or what the music was for us. I've always kind of felt like so bummed that like I was just too young to do that kind of stuff, like putting on shows or like the quote unquote like early underground scene stuff. Like there's no way now that anything like some people are doing it, and like there's like house shows and stuff that happen, but it's so different now, and it's so weird. Like I just missed that, and like those maybe it was just where I was, but like basement shows and all that kind of stuff, like just.
That may have been it. I mean, Central Florida is not necessarily known for that, but and like me, I'm kind of on the other hand, like I was a part of it, but then I wish I actually did more. But I was still just kind of like the young kid who grew up in a preacher's kid and just wasn't full into that. But I think that too, it says a lot about that community. Like a lot of the hardcore kids and different things in that scene are just cool and open to whatever. And so I remember just going to shows, and I'm kind of like this whatever nerdy kid, didn't really know much about it, getting into it little by little, and they were all cool with it and joke around with me, bring me in with open arms. So and especially in Atlanta in the South, it's definitely the Bible Belt, and so like that was one of the few genres where you could go and it would be like Christian kids and atheist kids, and the atheist kids definitely wanted to like flaunt it, and they always wore shirts to shows that said God-free youth, and but I mean everybody was pretty much on good terms for the most part, so it's just kind of like everybody shows up, does their thing, because at that point it's just all about the music. Nobody's talking about
and when you don't have that
any
much
kind of
access,
religious views, it's just everybody shows up.
When you're in a young band or young kid, when you don't have access to, like, if that's the only show going on that week or whatever that you can get on, then you're not gonna be a jerk to other people just because of whatever,
some nonsense.
That makes sense.
Difference.
So you grew up in Atlanta, right?
Yeah, Atlanta for like first half of my life, and then it was like St. Pete for middle school. And what up, St. Pete Christian School, and did that. My dad was like a kids pastor, and then we moved to North Florida, so it was like outside of Gainesville. But it was middle of nowhere, so like around Gainesville, like outside from there is just all these tiny backwoods towns. I actually lived on a dirt road in high school. Like, and that's what's crazy. I don't really know where. That was before I ever even moved to Atlanta and got into a lot of punk stuff. I don't really know where I got kind of like a I don't give a crap attitude from and do whatever I want. I don't really know where that, I mean, maybe my parents, but I remember and maybe it was just the music I was listening to, the music videos, and I was so into it. I would have my sister like dye or highlight my hair, and this was after the blue thing, so I feel like that was kind of like, hey, I went from like 0 to 10. Okay, now backpedaling. Oh, highlighting's not so bad. She would do that, but yeah, I mean, we lived on a dirt road. It was a lot of like rednecks, and I was buddies with them. We'd go riding 4-wheelers and dirt bikes, but it definitely wasn't my jam.
Yeah.
I'm really, really familiar with all the like mid to late 90s country music. From my boss whenever I worked on a ranch, like burying dead goats and feeding horses. So yeah, all the Alan Jackson, Clint Black, Tim McGraw, and just throw it down, man. Yeah, dude. I need to go to like a country bar for like a music trivia night.
I feel
so we could probably do that over in Lando tonight. Yeah. What's going on?
I feel like I had such an adverse reaction to the country music thing, just because it was so shoved down my throat.
Down your
like,
everywhere.
I was just like, I don't necessarily mind it, but like I can't get into it, Yeah, and like there's.
Well, and it's just real different now too, because then you've got the country pop.
It's just pop music essentially now. This is pop music.
Pop music with a twang.
When you're just naming stuff you see in your yard.
Oh man, it's so bad. I mean, I actually today it crossed my mind. I was gonna text you like, I kind of want to. I don't know. Now I feel bad for actually how much I bashed Black Eyed Peas, and I could be wrong, but I feel like that would almost be a welcome breath of fresh air compared to what's on pop radio right now. I don't listen to that on the regs, but I being here in Florida visiting my family, so I drive my parents' car, and I forgot my aux cable, and there's no Bluetooth, and so I just listened to the radio, and I swear, I mean, I drove about an hour each way to go hang out with my grandma this morning, and I think my finger was on the like channel surfing buttons, station surfing buttons for. I mean, it had to have been 2/3, 3/4 of the way. Just like next, listen to part of a song, next, and it's absolutely horrendous. And I just like part of a Black Eyed Peas song came on, the I Got a Feeling, and that one is that was like towards the tail end of them. But I just remember thinking like, man, this is actually like so much better than almost all of the crap.
I feel like they fell into their own trap. And became I feel like they became like a caricature of like what they were.
Yes. I wonder if they actually. It'd be funny if they actually did that on purpose. They're like, guys, we got to do what we do it times 10, and let's just troll the hell out of everyone and ourselves. Yeah, dude.
That goes back to I told you that a while ago. Kind of going back to country music, but like I kind of want to just write a country album and just screw it.
At least just a song. You just need to do it. Put it up on a Bandcamp, SoundCloud.
Like if I had an audience, and like obviously that whole thing's like a different machine and market and stuff.
Yeah.
If I had an audience and if I could like get steam going on that, and then just
write one for a joke and just be like, well, it's a little bit easier than you guys thought.
Just like play it straight and like, can you imagine? Not even me. Just can you imagine somebody making a country album, playing it straight, going on tour, doing all these things.
And inside they're just like,
I just picture him like whoever it is, like at the Grammys, and then like at the speech being like, yeah, this album's terrible. These guys are idiots.
Joke's on you, bros.
And that could go towards any music, not just
not just
country music.
I mean, we're equal opportunity bashing here. Like we'll hit anybody.
I feel like you'd only do that if you didn't care about having any sort of career. Just like a year-long facade.
Yeah.
Just to screw with people.
Then just come right out.
Yeah. That's so good.
It'll happen at some point.
It has to, I guess. Oh man, that's so good. Going back to what we were talking about. So when did you move to? Because you moved to Chicago, so you were in like Gainesville area, and then you came.
Oh, and then I moved to
Tampa?
Atlanta. I moved to Atlanta. That's what I did when I turned. Literally, it was like a
so you went
month
back up
before I
there.
was 21. I moved
Okay.
to Atlanta and lived there for like 5 years, and then 4 or 5 years, and then around the end of 05 came back to Florida for work. I was kind of getting tired of Atlanta. My parents lived down in Tampa at the time. They had already moved from the middle of nowhere to Tampa. I was like, yeah, why not? Change of scenery. And I had like a job opportunity, and that didn't really pan out like I was planning or wanted to. And so that's kind of when I hit up, one of the Anberlin dudes just to see if I could just go out if they needed help. And so I think like a month or two later, I was out, and I was gonna do it for just a little bit. And next thing you know, it was like, 1 year, 2 years, 3 year, and it just got crazy and snowballed.
It's nuts.
So I did that, and then moved up to Chicago in September of 2011, which is weird. It kind of doesn't feel like it was that long ago, but then in a way it does. But because I think we hung out literally like was it the night or the night before I left? I'm almost thinking like that had to have been like the night before or 2 nights before. I'm thinking I was gone the next morning.
I want to say it was because I took off that next day for a vacation to San Fran.
Yeah.
So I think it was. I think we hung out like
That's crazy.
couple
Yeah,
times
it was
that
Jason
week.
and
So it doesn't seem like that long ago. That's the same year. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say it was just kind of like a fun way to go out in a way. Went to like the local awards show. For an entertainment magazine, and Jason won something, and dudes I worked with won something, and then we just hung out way late, and then next thing you know, I had 2 bags on a plane to Chicago. I've just been there.
That because I had a flight that next morning early, like 5 or 6, something ridiculous, and like we were celebrating that night, so we'd been drinking, and my sister was obviously driving me. She drove me to the airport and dropped me off, but that's the only time that I've been. It was so late because we stayed up so late or early, however you look at it, and then I had to catch a flight, and I took a nap on my sister's floor for like an hour, and was still drunk at the airport on the airplane, and I had a layover. Like, this is probably one of my lowest moments in my life. I was going to layover, like, was it? I think it was either Atlanta or like Austin or something, and I had a layover, and I was just still like my body was just so thrown off because just the time difference, whatever it was, and then
So
I
did you
think
just
it was
keep
Texas.
drinking?
No. So I was just awake,
man.
but it was like breakfast time, so I'm just by myself in the airport food court, just eating like an Egg McMuffin, just like
Eating a Taco Bell burrito, breakfast burrito.
with just kids around me, like on their way to their vacation or whatever they're doing. And, like family, and I'm just like,
you see that? You've had the same clothes on for a day and a half.
it was
Your hair's disheveled.
Don't recommend. But it was good. I'm glad we had a nice time that night before. Oh man,
I totally see that. Thanks for admitting that.
Yeah, it's on the internet.
I haven't heard that, but I like it. I think, speaking of the internet, so I have a friend. It's actually an ex, and so she's put a few things like on Reddit recently, and they like go really well. It's crazy.
Really?
And so she had one recently, and her, I guess she took a picture out her window. Her teenage neighbor across the street. I think the boy. I can't remember if the boy or the girl is the neighbor, but anyway, basically it's like a teenage couple, and the guy's like breaking up with the girl, and they're sitting on the curb, but he's got a bag of Cheetos that he's eating. So he's eating Cheetos just nonchalantly, and the girl's looking all distraught. So she put that on her Facebook first, and then put it on like Reddit, and it just got really crazy. And so then she started posting updates, and I guess the next day, the girl's mom came over and knocked on the door with the girl, and so she was kind of scared to answer, and they weren't super pissed. I think the mom like actually thought it was a little funny, but the mom told her that she was expecting to see like an actual like middle-aged woman, maybe whose kid posted it instead of the actual friend who does have like a 2-year-old kid. So she's like a responsible mom. But
That's awesome.
I guess the kid found out, and then his mom came over, and she requested. She doesn't know how the internet works. She requested that it just be taken down.
I mean,
so I'm pretty sure, like, I don't.
I mean,
I'd
Beyonce
be trying to
couldn't
tell
do
her,
it.
like, I don't think you just really take that off and it's just gone.
So the great part about that is, like, I saw it on Imgur.
Did you?
Before you texted me about it, like a
Nice.
day before.
Yeah.
It was on, like, the front page, which is, like, the most popular stuff.
Yeah.
And Imgur kind of works hand in hand. It's, like, its own thing. But when you upload, like, photos to Reddit,
Yeah.
Imgur is the service that they use. So, like,
so when you do
it's
one,
probably
it
your
kinda
friend's
defaults to
it was
the
probably
other
your
one.
friend's picture.
Yeah.
Because, like, she probably logged in and uploaded via Imgur, and then it sits on Imgur, too.
Yeah.
So then
okay.
I probably saw her picture, and then you texted me, like, the day after. I was like, no way. Because I laughed so hard when I saw that. He's just, like, she's crying, and he's just not even looking
He's
at her.
not
Like,
looking
his
at her,
hand
he's
in a
looking in
bag
the
of
other direction.
Cheetos.
The bag of Cheetos. And then there got to be so many, like, not necessarily memes, but people, like, adding, I think people added, like, the Cheetos guy over his shoulder.
The best comment I
and-
saw was, like, the kid quoting, like, quoting the kid fake. It is that, sorry, baby, it ain't easy being cheesy. I died so hard. And just the fact that you...
I think somebody
knew the song.
photoshopped it with, like, cheese dust everywhere,
Oh,
too.
God,
Cheeto
it's so
dust.
good. The internet's so freaking weird. Yeah, that's crazy.
But you just can't take things off of it.
Off the internet.
And then just be gone.
Oh, God. That's so good. You could have just, like, probably pasted it into a Word doc and then deleted it in front of the lady.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. See, gone.
All gone. There goes.
All done. Jobs here done.
So that's so good. So I know you were talking a little bit earlier about your like being only being allowed to listen to Christian music stuff growing up.
Yeah.
And Noelle, my wife, was kind of the same way for a little while. I was never in that. I never really my mom would regulate kind of what I was listening to, just in general, like parents do. But
She would just make sure you weren't on a destructive path.
yeah. But I was
Check in periodically.
I never had like the Christian only music mindset. So
Daniel,
what,
I've heard about this Marilyn Manson. Do you have any of his stuff? Oh, thank God.
I mean, they were weirded out once I started listening to heavy music, but that's probably as far as it got. But
Yeah.
So kind of going off of that, how just in general, how to I mean, it has to have some. Might be a big question. How does having a dad who's a pastor, like, outside of, like, only listening to Christian music, like, how was that growing up? Like, how did that, turn you into grumpy Brent?
So this is a free therapy session, right?
So where are these problems?
It was good.
It's just so interesting to me because, like, I was,
Yeah.
I'll put you, from my perspective, like, I grew up, I was Catholic, and I remember we went to maybe church, I remember, like, when we lived in Tampa a couple of times. Then we moved up to Land O'Lakes, north of Tampa. We didn't really start going until, like, I was maybe in middle school, definitely in high school, and then I went to the youth group and did all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But, like, growing up, like my wife did, or like you did, like every Sunday, like being such a big part, like that's just like so foreign to me. So
Yeah,
I'm just
well,
always
you're already
interested
sucked into, like, Nine Inch Nails world, and you just were not having it.
I'm always interested to hear that.
Yeah, it was. I mean, obviously, so for me, it wasn't quote unquote weird because it's just like normal life.
Yeah.
I mean, as you grow up, there's things that change. So there wasn't really any, I guess, like negative or quote unquote bad stuff. You hear a lot. There wasn't a lot of like drama in the family. Like you got things every now and then where you hear. People in the church talk about your dad or some kind of drama going on or people not agreeing with him. And so that kind of bums you out when you're younger. But as far as any implications, like it was fine. I mean, they were strict, but I feel like it's like there again, it's one of those things where you're in it, you're around it. It's just your world. You don't really know about anything different.
Sure.
So that was fine. Growing up, I mean, I went to public school for some. I did private school, and I've done homeschool, so I've done a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, I was behind it all, and maybe until I moved to Atlanta, and basically started working with. I'd moved up there to like intern with a kind of like a street ministry that did a lot of stuff with homeless
So this
people.
is the second time when you
did a lot of
went up.
stuff Yeah, like when I went back
Yeah,
as an
yeah.
adult. Yeah,
Gotcha.
so I knew people that kind of like ran it and started it, and it was actually people that had kind of gotten my dad into ministry or gave him his first like youth pastor job when he was probably early 20s, mid 20s, and so I had known him for a while, and I went up there to work with them and kind of like intern and see what happened. I'd gone to school for a little bit, didn't know what I wanted to do. So they did a lot of stuff with like kids in housing projects. They'd throw big block parties. They would do stuff for homeless people, kind of get them back on track and work. They had services. They had like 3 or 4 different kind of main things, but they also housed the office and was also paid Jay Baker, whose parents were Jim and Tammy Faye Baker. And so I knew of them growing up in the church. He basically was like one of the first like main like televangelists. And so there was, some drama that had gone on with that. And growing up in the church, you always hear of that. His dad ended up having to do time in prison for something, and his mom was always ridiculed. She wore a lot of makeup, and so a lot of people kind of, dude. So it was, people would kind of make fun of her. Well, she would be emotional. She was like an awesome, sensitive person. But, you cry and the mascara runs. And so that's kind of what everybody in pop culture knew of them. So
Gotcha.
He had kind of left. He never even graduated school. That all happened when he was a kid. I don't think he got past middle school. Got hard into like drugs, alcohol, kind of came back around. Full sleeve tattoos, and so basically kind of got back into it, but wanted to do it his way and not really be super churchy. And so he ended up writing a book, and Rolling Stone had done some stuff, interview with him around the time that I moved up. But I basically kind of got in with him, started going to his Bible studies, and that's kind of when I started realizing, like, okay, yeah, things aren't as black and white as church wants it to be, and you don't need to constantly be talking about whatever, your faith to strangers and whatever else. So,
Gotcha.
He definitely kind of kickstarted that. I still listen to him. He's actually got his own podcast. So he still records his sermons and puts them online, but he's got a sweet podcast called This Is Radiocast. And can we make money off of another podcast? Like it's like an ad for an ad? It's a really good one. It's crazy because he just started it this year. His first guest
I've seen you post
was Henry Rollins, which is like one of his big idols. So I think that's kind of crazy that literally your first podcast is 0 to 100. And kudos to him.
Not like this, kids.
So that's So not here. We got to warm up a little bit. Got to pull some strings. So that's kind of where that happened. There's a lot of stuff between then and now, but that's kind of where I started trying to think more for myself and look at it from an outsider point of view instead of just kind of being in that bubble and in that world and just taking everything at face value.
Yeah, I hear you.
But it was fine. I was never one to just be like, oh yeah, I'm like 13, let me try drinking. It was just never my never my jam really. So yeah, I had good people around me, good friends. I even had some friends whose parents were even more, a little bit more strict than mine. Where I remember wanting to go to like a Newsboys show back in, I don't know, probably middle school, which they did start out a little crazier, a little louder than they ended up being.
Yeah.
And I remember one of my friends, his dad was a youth music pastor. My dad was like the kids pastor, so we were like BFFs and always hung out. And yeah, his parents said they were like, "Oh, we need to listen to this. We need to listen to the CD first to make sure, basically make sure it was Christian enough." And I just remember thinking like, oh, "Come on, man! Like, are you kidding me?" And even that was in middle school, I think. So
yeah, I hear you.
So yeah, I always had new people whose parents were a little bit even more uptight than mine were, but we're still on. We've always been on good terms. They're amazing. We don't agree on everything, and it's kind of best just we usually don't really bring it up because I'd rather just not
dive into it.
Talk about stuff and get into either arguments or something and just not talk about it. But I managed to. I think I managed to be drinking for I think like 10 years before they found out. 'Cause they are not into that. And so somehow, and I still don't know how they found out or who told him or what happened, but but I also think that's just kind of like a testament to how I don't know. I don't know. It kind of sounds bad, but it's also, I don't know, somewhat endearing. But I feel like they're just like pretty, naive. I don't know. But I guess maybe they trusted me or thought I wouldn't. Whatever the way they raised me, that I would just kind of hold to that. But I knew they weren't into that, so I just never really talked about it or mentioned anything about it. And so, and I kind of had to be somewhat sneaky. And so at some point, it came up and they confronted me, and it didn't go as bad as I thought.
Well,
it would have gone, but
because your parents are here, and we're here to talk about your drinking problem. Come on out.
Oh no, that's the Price is Right music. Speaking of Price is Right, did anybody see Steve and Christian from Anberlin on Price is Right? That was awesome and crazy. So I actually, what's funny too is so they know about it now, but we don't talk about it much, and so Mom will mention some. She'll always kind of make little small comments every now and then about the not driving or the not wanting me to be out late, and I kind of want to say, well, that's why it's awesome I'm in Chicago. I just hop a train or order a cab or an Uber. Yeah. I can just I'm right, and then I just always feel like that's just gonna make me sound like an alcoholic. I just drink it. It's fine. I just drink as much, and then I just
drink
get
all
in
the
a
time
car.
I never have to drive.
Exactly.
So, driving ain't holding me down now, Mom.
Money.
Oh, that's great.
No car, no problems.
Yeah, that's so. It's so foreign to me. That's why I'm always interested in it, because like I said, Noelle. I feel like you and Noelle have similar background. Like her mom, like she grew up in church. Her mom was always, for the most part, like working.
Her mom still
at a
works
church.
at
Yeah, she works at a church now. Yeah. So yeah, it's just always so.
But I feel like it's even different now, really, than it was then, because in a way, I kind of like how diverse it is. In a way, I don't like that there's not much continuity these days as far as Christianity. But yeah, there are pastors who are, okay with drinking, and they'll kind of even do maybe like one sermon a year about kind of like their take on it, why they think it's okay. And so yeah, you get some that are like open to a lot more than others, and so it's neat to kind of see some progress. And some people be a little bit more transparent, but there's always going to be plenty of stuff to kind of drag the whole thing down. Or
I feel overall I like the like the, I don't know if this is even the right term, the quote unquote like startup churches that are like kind of less about.
We're not in Silicon Valley right now.
Yeah, less about like the traditions and stuff are cool. Yeah, and I get them, but they're less about that and more just about like coming together and doing whatever. Like, I think I'm more attracted to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, those. It's kind of like a funny cycle, because there's the churches who kind of have like the rock band and they try to appeal to a certain type of people, and I went to some of those for a little bit, and then it's funny because some of my friends that you would think would be into that, we all kind of got to where we weren't into that, and then some of them went the opposite way, and they're into more like really orthodox, kind of like what you were talking about, where you still kind of have some of like the motions, and it's a little bit more serious and a little bit more old school. And so it's it's neat, but it's to me it's kind of like, well, it's just two extremes. A lot of that's still just traditions. This just doesn't matter. But you do have those like home churches, or like the new church plants and stuff that are just trying to be more inclusive and just do whatever, not really go by a guideline.
Yeah, for a while we before, like when we were dating, Noelle and I would, with a group of friends, just go to a house church like on Wednesday nights or something. That's just kind of what we did. And I feel like people are, I don't want to say this is general. I feel like a lot of people are being, and this is me personally as well, are more attracted to people just being people. I remember, I don't remember many times in church when I was young, like where the priest or whatever would. It felt like a lot of like projecting on the congregation rather than him saying like, oh, hey, I screw up too. It's a lot of just like talking to other people about how you should be better, and that's what kind of turned me off for such a long time.
It makes and they come at it from an angle where it's kind of like they're already there. Like, I got it together.
That turned me off for a while. That's not saying I maybe missed some of those services, but what I remember is not much of that.
It's there's definitely kind of room for Yeah, a little bit more open and honest dialogue, and it's it's getting there. But yeah, I think that's just a big misconception in the American church that I've noticed is just want to appear like you've got it together, and that's just not gonna happen with humans. But
it's kind of not the point either.
Yeah, no.
But that's a whole different. It's a whole different podcast.
A different discussion. Yeah.
Oh man, that's on the next podcast called "You Need Jesus" with Brent Cayson.
You need him more than I do.
Oh man, that's so good.
I'm playing with fire by the way right now. Too.
Yeah,
I just never can resist. I feel like a I don't know if you heard this story or not. Speaking of fire, so
classic setup.
So I live. So one of our mutual friends, Reed Murray.
Classic Reed. He's gonna be on here soon.
Oh, nice.
He's on tour right now, though.
Plays for a band, and so they were playing literally three blocks from my apartment, and our friend Jason that we've mentioned on here was in town for one of his nonprofit projects, and then one or two of our friends from Tampa live there now, so it's kind of like this big, hey, we're all going to the show, we're all hanging out at the same time, and so we get back to my place, and I've got, Chicago is mostly those multi-units, those houses that are just 5 feet apart, if that, just boom, boom, stacked right side by side. And so I've got a little patio and courtyard next to mine, so I've actually got like a lot in between. So I've got some grass, some concrete. So it was, we decided to do like a fire. I've got a fire pit, like, yeah, let's, whatever, let's hang out, roast some marshmallows, drink, do the fire. So we're all sitting around, got the fire, hanging out. Actually, there's also, Jason has guests there from Ohio, so they were in town for something as well, people I didn't even know. And so I guess I didn't have necessarily like the lighter fluids. I've got gasoline for my lawnmower, and it's usually for the lawnmower. And so we've got the logs, got everything. They're taking a while, and I've kind of been pouring gas on it, but it's got one of the like safety nozzles that's spring loaded for when you actually use it in a lawnmower. It's kind of like a gas pump. You've got to push it in, and something gets depressed. So I can't use that just over an open flame, so I've got to actually take the nozzle off. So now it's just open. Pour in a little small stream of gasoline on the fire, but the fire jumps up the stream and catches the 1 gallon of gas is on fire at the front of it. And I'm just in a split second thinking, the hell am I going to do with this? Like, is this going to blow up? Do I set it down? If I set it down and it melts and gas goes everywhere, now the whole patio is going to be on fire. Wait, I've got a spigot, I've got water, but it's halfway across the yard, so I'm running with it. And in my head, I'm just like, I can't believe I'm here right now. I'm running with fire. This is the last thing you freaking do. And yeah, I got to the spigot, turned it on, and like it was fine. It was out, but it was one of probably the most terrifying moments I've ever experienced. It was probably like a nice 15, 20 second ordeal that just felt like a couple minutes. So,
Jesus, you're an idiot. I love you.
I usually don't do stupid things like that, man. It's so weird.
Oh, God.
Just gotta keep the fire going.
Well, I'm gonna move this candle away from you. But yeah, this is the first time we lit this. This is I'm burning a candle that Brent made me in a coffee mug, which is so rad as a wedding gift.
Yeah,
I love it.
I started making them a little strong. Well, I mean, this room's pretty big too, so it won't really smell. But what if I just burned all my nostrils right now? I'm trying to smell.
This is really good for podcast. Brent is smelling the candle.
You
He's
should,
wafting it.
Yeah. Does anybody do like webcam while they're doing the podcast? I feel like that could be fun with some people. You could watch a video.
Yeah, I feel like you could fall into the trap of less conversation, focusing on the camera, though.
Yeah, no, like that's true.
Like you're doing a local access.
That may just be a whole new form of podcast. I still need to watch. I still haven't watched the whole thing of
Colbert.
Did,
it is.
That's really good.
So good, dude. I think the best part is because
Eminem.
Because he interviews Eminem on it, but like Eminem is such a good comedic.
Because he's just like deadpan the whole time.
But yeah,
just, like,
but like
so
you know
serious.
he's playing into it, and you know what's going. They both know what's going on, and they're both like playing into their characters. But he's just so like he gave Colbert so much like to play off of that it was just
He was just like losing himself in the
so
moment.
good.
So it's cool. Just call me Dad now.
Jesus. Oh God. I hate you and I love you.
Dude, it was so bad. I'm so. Where's that censor button? Don't you have
jokes.
something like a news broadcast, like where you just hit that button for a delay?
I mean, this isn't a radio soundboard.
Yeah.
This is
This
my
is only
computer.
Mac. Yeah.
God, that's so good.
And take 2. Let's go.
Like I said, we'll edit this out.
But I know he's lying.
Oh man. So yeah. Do you want to mention Emo Night at all? If anybody is listening.
If all you people out there,
all you people that know Brent,
and then on top of that, for all those people that live in Chicago, and I don't really know when this will go live or when you'll hear this, but so that was kind of one of the genres of music I got into in the like early 2000s. Possibly, maybe a little bit of it even in like the late 90s, but just kind of like a genre I was in that's starting to make, well, a quote-unquote comeback. There's some people that don't like the term comeback because it never necessarily went away, but there's a lot of newer, younger bands that are starting to emulate that, the same older sound. So Chicago's kind of was like a hub for that. A lot of the Midwestern bands that came out of that whole scene. So I didn't really know of one going on. I didn't really even know of the other ones around the country at the time when the idea crossed my mind. So so I just basically DJ me and a friend or two DJ a night at a really small, awesome, cozy little bar in Logan Square neighborhood in Chicago on the third Thursday of the month. I'm probably only going to do it through like the winter and then probably just put it on hold because everybody just hibernates. I got a few ideas to maybe do something. I'm trying to do an after party for some friends that come through later in the year, but some things I'm trying to work out. But so I do that at 9:00, and so me and friends just play all kinds of stuff. So we'll play anything from like older stuff like Mineral and Knapsack, but we will also play Brand New and Taking Back Sunday, and we will also play a little bit of Further Seems Forever and Dashboard and Saves the Day and Get Up Kids and Hot Rod Circuit. So it's a fun thing to kind of do with friends. It's been awesome. So my buddy Will Noon that played in Stray Light Run and Breaking Pangea, and he earns a living by banging the drums for fun, and Nate Roos now is going to come through this next week. So he's coming through to hang out, and then Say Anything is playing the same night, so I'm trying to get a few of those dudes to come out and hang out after the show. So
that's awesome.
It's a fun little thing, but there's other ones. If that's your jam too, go to a website, washedupemo.com. They've actually got a map, so there's ones in New York, Brooklyn. Some of our friends are doing one down here in Tampa and St. Pete. There's actually a new one that's just starting, I think, this month in Houston that I read about. So they've got a map for all of those, and they also have some really good podcasts with awesome. Some of the bands. Yeah.
And yours, you want to tell people what the name of yours is? Or you just want them to find it in the bar by itself?
Just find it. No, it's Twitter, Instagram, and pretty much Facebook is just Chicago Emo Night. But the subtitle I started calling it now is Cool for One Night because I love Hot Rod Circuit. That's so cool. I named it after one of those songs. Cool for One Night, Chicago Emo Night, third Thursday at the Burlington. We'll have to get you up there at some point.
Yeah, dude, I want to so bad. The Unfun, which is the one you mentioned that some of the Anberlin guys are doing now in St. Pete. It's good times. We went to the first one. I couldn't make. They did the after party for Warped Tour.
Yeah, you can make that.
I didn't make that one, but the first one was a really good time. A really good turnout too.
Yeah.
So it's a cool dealio.
Maybe when Christian gets done with having to play with Acceptance. Oh God, psych! I love that band. I'm so bummed because actually their show in Seattle, their hometown show, was like last night.
Yeah,
and I wanted to go, but I'd already had my flight booked for here. So
gotcha. Sorry to interrupt.
I know, dude. Freaking friends and family, man. So it's
cool,
good,
dude.
but yeah, it's been awesome hanging out in your living room.
Yeah.
And
you get some.
I'm glad your dog didn't try to bite me this time.
He
has this like really nice dog that I feel like I'm like the only person that's just like all of a sudden he decided to like snip at me one day.
No, one time.
So now I just remind him like, oh yeah, remember when you bothered me?
He's a marshmallow. But
I know.
Cool.
So we agree on a lot. Music, bikes. We didn't touch on that, but we both ride bikes.
Bros on bikes.
However, I have yet to watch a full. This is when I wish there was like video because I feel like I'm about to get beat the crap out of. But I've never watched a full Harry Potter movie yet.
Oh well, I mean
And
that's
so
why you're here.
I just,
We're gonna podcast you
this
watching
is
the entire
this is
series.
an intervention. So
We're
and
gonna
he
just mic your reaction. To
and he
all
obviously
7 movies.
he obviously
8 movies.
loves it. So that's the one thing that we don't have in common. I mean, me too. Like my friends let me borrow the DVDs, and I still haven't watched them. But I feel like it's such a like winter fall thing, and I just haven't done it
I feel
yet.
like you're making shit up.
No, dude, maybe because that's how I used to watch it. Like I've watched pieces with Nate and stuff because he just absolutely loves it. But yeah, I've only watched parts of them.
So good.
So I remember I would always kid around with him and make it like ask him how Dumbledore was as if it were like a person. And so anything I could do to just sound really backwards. So
Cool.
I'll try to watch it for you before next time. And
Expect-
you can quiz me.
Expect live tweets.
Yes.
Oh man. All right. Anything else you want to chat about?
No, I'm sure it'll be found somewhere on the internet, but I think you're live tweeting something soon.
Yeah, I don't know if this will be up in time for that. So I either.
But you can look back and find it, I would think.
Yeah, either will be or will have been live tweeting Sharknado 3. And the fun part is I'm supposed to be drinking while that's happening. So, yeah.
I need to see if I have that channel. I feel like I should just do it along with you, but I don't know if I get. Was that sci-fi channel?
Yeah. So I guess if you're listening to this and it hasn't happened yet, I'm not sure exactly when this is going up, but follow me on Twitter.
And you come up with a good hashtag just for this one, like just so.
I think we started hashtagging. I think because we're gonna do some more live tweeting for state lines. So I think the hashtag I came up with was, I might screw this up. I think it's just live tweet SL. So
Yeah,
for
okay.
state lines.
Okay.
But yeah, so that should be fun. But all right, man. Well, it was good chatting with you.
And we're gonna get back on our grumpy grind.
Grumpy. Man.
Thanks, dude. It's been a blast.
All right, man. I love you.
Love you.
It could be worse.
Always.
Oh god, so good.
That was awesome.
So great. Yeah, I think that might become a lame tagline.
Dude, it needs to. I'm pretty sure it has to.